Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 18th event discussions conducted by the editorial board of the Caucasus edition entitled New Wars and Peace. Today we have a pleasure to discuss peace education in Armenia and Azerbaijan with Marina Danoyan, a peace building practitioner from Armenia, now living in Finland, working as a project manager at CMI Marti Ahtisaari Peace Foundation at Women in Peacemaking program. And Gulkhanim Mammadova, a researcher focusing on peace building, conflict transformation, and gender issues at a Baku-based think tank, Top Chubashev Center. Their article was recently published online on Caucasus Edition website, and soon, later this year, there will be a printed version published in the next issue of the Caucasus Edition Journal of Conflict Transformation. Marina, Gulkhanim, thank you very much for your work, for your research on this great article on peace education in Armenia and Azerbaijan. My first question would be a very general one. So I just wonder, what is peace education in the context of your research and in the regional context? And maybe you can say a few words. What is the situation with peace education in Armenia and Azerbaijan?
Thank you, Vadim. Shall I start? Yes, thank you. And first of all, I would like to thank Caucasus Edition for the opportunity to speak about this important and timely topic, especially in those challenging times for the South Caucasus region and for Armenia and Azerbaijan in particular. I would also like to make a disclaimer because, as Vadim mentioned, I work at CMI Marti Ahtisaari Peace Foundation, but today I'm here in my personal capacity, and the ideas I present do not necessarily represent the views of the organization that I work in. So regarding your question, Vadim, I would like first to outline what is the framework we considered for our study, because peace education is a broad concept and it can be understood differently. For us and for this research especially, the idea was to look into various programs in Armenia and Azerbaijan, which not only focused on peace building as such, but which had broader goals, such as improving critical and analytical thinking, to instill values of peace or changing attitudes, stereotypes, and increasing tolerance towards each other. The programs that aimed at improving interpersonal conflict management skills. This type of education is not necessarily even defined as peace education, but rather intercultural communication, inclusive education, citizenship education, etc. At the same time, despite the numerous concepts and approaches to peace education, all these programs are unified in their goals to instill peaceful values in children and make them agents of change to achieve equity, social justice, and promote human rights. In our research, we primarily looked into the school programs, as we consider that it is important to instill values of peace, tolerance, and understanding from an early age. And what was also important for us while conducting the research is the link between the formal and non-formal education program, educational programs, to look into whether and how non-formal education programs developed by NGOs make their way to schools. So this is to give you an overall framework of the research and our approach. As for Armenia, I should note that peace education curriculum materials were introduced in Armenian national curriculum as early as 1995. They have been supplemental materials to the national curriculum, as peace education is not given space and as an exclusive subject. which is taught during free periods, such as in classes with the head teacher, which in Armenia we call dasreki jam. Those programs haven't been always successful and sustainable, but I would like to highlight one of the most successful programs focusing on interpersonal conflict management, which was developed by Women for Development NGO based in Gyumri. And which started in 1995. They developed the program on interpersonal conflict management, which was incorporated into the formal school curriculum as part of an optional weekly course with the head teacher. And between 2002 and 2018, the program was implemented in 850 schools across Armenia, trained 6,000 teachers, and provided about 70,000 students with lessons and trainings in peace education. This program, interestingly, has been institutionalized and supported by National Agency of Education. And together with Women for Development, the National Agency of Education conducted teachers training, regular monitoring and evaluation. However, after the dissolution of the National Agency of Education, this program was eventually suspended, although there are still teachers in various schools that use the material from this program. Several evaluations conducted during the implementation of this project showed positive changes in teacher-pupil relations during the implementation of the project. And students became more tolerant and applied skills gained during the course to resolve their everyday conflicts. At the same time, teachers also noticed changes in their own behavior as they became more patient, tolerant, calm, and had better tools to act in conflict situations. Another important and recent peace education initiative in Armenia is the Peace Education Manual for Schools that was created by the Frontline Youth Network, an NGO based in the Tavush region, in cooperation with the National Center for Development and Innovation, which is an agency affiliated to the Ministry of Education, Science, Culture and Sport, a little bit long name. Frontline Youth Network has been this NGO was created to provide a platform for youth to support youth development in the Tavush region, and education has been part of their program as a non-formal education for youth. However, in order to make a more substantial change, they started cooperating with the formal education institutes to integrate this program in schools, specifically fitting in our regional context. The pilot program has been introduced already in the schools in Tavush recently, and the preliminary evaluation has been made. And currently, this NGO is working on the second manual with a similar content for high school. The one they developed was for the grades 7 to 9, and now they are working on a second one. And this will cover not only Tavush region, but also 5 other regions in Armenia. So this is not a comprehensive overview, but rather examples I would like to highlight. Overall, I have to say that there are no many programs on peace education in schools, and they appear in school program from time to time as part of non-compulsory study with different degrees of success. And the ones that have succeeded are those that where the Ministry of Education has been involved since the beginning, and which are developed and promoted by local NGOs, which have been created to fit specifically to the context of the region. And also those who included trainings of teachers. So this is kind of a very short overview. Thank you. Over to you, Vadim.
Yeah, thank you, Marina. Indeed, it seems that quite a lot of work has been done already in Armenia in this field, but yeah, apparently, as you mentioned, there is still some room to be filled in by new initiatives. But Gulkhanim, what is the situation in Azerbaijan?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Vadim, and to full COCOS edition team for providing this opportunity and floor to speak about such an important topic. I would like to start, I will try to summarize the current situation with the peace education. I would like to start with the, definition of peace education in general in Azerbaijan. At the site, term peace education is not used so much. And peace education initiatives, they're mostly incorporated in peace building activities. So when you say about peace education, people mostly would ask you, what do you mean by peace education? Is it existing in Azerbaijan? So in schools, we don't have such an subject, but instead some values of peace education program, like international programs, they're included in subject social studies, which is called in Azerbaijani Hayat Bilgisi. This subject includes different basics of social sciences, philosophy, psychology, law, economics, politics, and it also teaches students how to take responsibilities and how to live in the society and form a civic position. So somehow some parts of peace education values can be they are included in this subject. At the same time, I also did some research about programs at universities, and in university we have such a subject, and also the major it's master degree called conflict studies. But unfortunately, even there is such a subject, it teaches students only some theoretical knowledge, but it doesn't provide any practical, I don't know, practice-oriented content or something like that. In addition to these programs, we also have different initiatives informal, non-formal initiatives throughout the country, in the capital and in the region. They have different methodologies, but they are mostly implemented and supported by international organizations such as European Union, US Embassy, or German foundations. Yeah, and yes, one of the famous ones, I will just talk about this, most of them are provided in detail in the article, but one of the famous ones is the conflict school, implemented by the Eurasia Partnership Foundation and supported by European Union. And it also teaches different skills, trying to instill different skills like critical thinking, and it includes different parts of the conflict studies, I don't know, Median conflict, feminism, peace, and conflict resolution theories. And also it tries to, show the perspective from other side by showing this famous movie, Parts of Circle, produced by the Reconciliation Resources. So, and also I would add that in Azerbaijan, the higher education is currently based on the principle of multiculturalism, which is officially stated as one of the core values of the country. And most of the higher education, they have this subject, among other subjects in the curriculum. Yeah, this is in general, as I said, there are like in Armenia, even in schools, we don't have such initiatives, but there were some projects implemented by European Union in 2004 and 2005. But for now, yeah, in schools, it's only social studies, and we have several non-formal initiatives. That's it about Azerbaijan.
Thank you, Gulkhanim. Yes, indeed, those who are interested in the situation in Armenia and Azerbaijan could read more in the article that was published online 10 days ago. But I wonder, since of course you've been working in cooperation and co-authoring and writing this article together, it already seemed to me that there is some kind of differences between the situation in Armenia and Azerbaijan in the field of peace education. But have you identified any similarities and as well as differences? Can you kind of specify them? What are they?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to start, or I can start?
No, as you wish, as you wish. Please,
Doesn't matter.
Gulkhanim.
Okay, I will start then. So first of all, I would like to say about this taboo to talk about peace. I think it's like kind of taboo to talk about peace in both of societies, which is similar, and it creates a really like a big obstacle on the way to promote this peace education in schools, especially for kids. Like when of course, the situation changed a bit after the Second Karabakh War. If it was like, easier to talk about peace before the war in Armenia, and it was more like difficult in Azerbaijan, now situation, I believe it's my opinion, the situation changed a bit, and it's way easier to talk about peace and this peace initiatives in Azerbaijan. But yeah, it's like, I think it's one of the biggest obstacles which create like similar obstacles on the way for creating peace education programs in school. Then I will say also like about Azerbaijan, and maybe then Marina will talk about Armenia, so we can compare what are the problems in this field. In Azerbaijan, as I said, like the peace education informal setting, it's only these social or conflict studies courses, which consists only of theory, and there is no practice, which like I don't know, which can help actually to students to understand how to interact with the like other parts, and not to create any contradictions. Also for Azerbaijan, like the problem with peace education, that there is like lack of expertise in peace education field. So consequently, because there is no peace education expert, or I don't know, there is no peace education subject, like peace education field as such, it creates like the reason why there is a small amount and small number of peace education programs and initiatives in Azerbaijan. Yeah, maybe Marina, you can talk about Armenians.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Gulkhanim. Well, it's not a secret that terms as peace and peace building are not easily accepted by a wider Armenian society, as peace building is associated by some with weakness and even considered as threat to national security because it challenges the dominating nationalistic narratives. However, one of my interviewees noted that it is now the right time to work with youth in this direction and to raise awareness about peace building, so as not to let this topic to be manipulated. And I very much agree on this. And what Youth Frontline Network does. The trainers come from the Tavush region themselves. They have similar issues, similar concerns, and they talk to the youth from their personal perspective, bringing their personal stories. And my interviewee said that while doing this, the youth is kind of more easily accepting this idea. At the same time, she stressed that if a foreigner would come and promote these ideas, the reaction might be different and not so positive. As said, it is like peace building and talking about peace in general is a sign of a weakness. On the one hand, we have to acknowledge that peace education is not widely promoted in Armenia either. And on the other hand, we are not aware of what is done in the area of peace building on the Azerbaijani side. So, and it's similar in Azerbaijan, I think. And because we don't know about each other's initiative, we easily assume they do not exist. And rather the opposite exists, right? So it is in this regard, it is important to know what programs in peace education exist in Azerbaijan and when and how they are being implemented. Because if we don't have a full picture of reality, it is very easy to make false assumptions. It brings us to the importance to establish contacts between Armenian and Azerbaijani educational professionals, and not only with regard to peace education, but education more broadly. In fact, teaching about peace should come up in diverse disciplines, history, science, geography, and in order to be efficient, we should take a holistic approach and look at the whole school curriculum critically and encourage a joint and sincere discussion with the specialists from both sides. But I think from my personal perspective, this is a bit too early to speak about it in the current situation when the level of trust between two societies is so low. But another common challenge that I would like to note, which comes to both Armenian and Azerbaijani cases, is that the peace education programs are usually funded by international donors, and the funding is often temporary, and it is therefore difficult to ensure their sustainability. At the same time, it is important to note that NGOs' expertise in peace education is very valuable and could support formal education programs. And this resource is usually underutilized, and the knowledge and expertise of NGO sector do not reach formal education. But I think there is something particular in Armenian case that I would like to highlight, and it is related to current educational reform that opened the space for introducing peace and conflict related topics in various subjects in secondary school. One of my interviewees, who is expert in educational expert and who has been involved in the reform, she explains that this reform pursues two main goals. First, it aims at empowering subjects from the national sciences in order to develop pupils' abilities to supply sector-specific skills. But secondly, which is very relevant to our topic today, is in contrast with the previous knowledge-centered education system, the reform aims at developing skills, attitude, and values that will allow pupils to apply the acquired knowledge in everyday life situations and to develop analytical thinking regarding any phenomena. Of course, those are very good ideas, and the educational reform is ongoing, so it remains to be seen how it will succeed. But I see it as an opening, as a window of opportunity that might change the situation. Let's see. Now, I just wanted to add that the pilot, that this program has been piloted in schools in the Taboo region of Armenia, and the evaluation is currently underway.
Vadim, I also would like to add.
Sure.
Sure. So Marina touched a very important point. Like in Azerbaijan, the funding issue is very difficult right now because from 2014, it's very difficult to obtain the funding from international donors due to some bank account issues, and also it's very difficult to create any new NGOs which can actually work in peace education field. So yeah, this is, I think, one of the common problems as well. Yeah, thank you, Marina, for adding this.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And I wonder, since in your articles, I remember you also analyzed cases in Finland and Bosnia and Herzegovina in the field of peace education. So why? My first question, why do we need these experiences? How are they so, can we derive any knowledge, any useful information from these cases for Armenia and Azerbaijan to solve these problems that you just mentioned, for example?
Yeah. May I start? we looked at, I will focus on Finland's case. Finland was chosen for this research because the peace education in Finland fits very well in the framework of that we chose for our study. There has been a genuine interest in Armenia towards Finnish educational system, and Finland has been one of the countries that has been considered in the current educational reforms. So when I talked to this educational expert for our article, I noticed a lot of common things that exist already in the Finnish educational system. That's where the interest comes from. So in fact, peace education is not considered as a separate program in Finnish schools, but it is incorporated into the school curriculum and integrated into various subjects. Topics such as cultural understanding, interaction and cooperation skills, participation, active citizenship, and building sustainable future are part of the national curriculum and are supposed to be involved in all the subjects studies. In general, a Finnish national curricula from various periods starting from 1970s, peace education has held a central place in the national curriculum. For instance, in 80s, curriculum stated that goals are guided by values. And these goals included the diverse development of the student's personality, nature conservation, national culture, gender equality, and international cooperation and peace. In 90s, curriculum called for the following to be considered when building the values-based for education. Topics included promoting sustainable development, cultural identity, multiculturalism and internationalization, and physical, mental, and social well-being. So all these are kind of part of peace education. It is important to note also that the Finnish educational system model has deep historical, political, and social roots, and it has been possible to achieve it thanks to the state policies that promoted equality and peace. In fact, research shows that when education policies and legislation support peace education, it helps to achieve full integration into formal school settings. Therefore, the Finnish example is not something that can be easily replicated in any other context, and it was not the idea to show the Finnish example as a example to follow, but there are some elements that could be adopted, especially in terms of the approach of integrating peace values in various subjects in school. Another interesting aspect in the Finnish example for us is that Finnish national school curriculum heavily encourages cooperation between the formal schools and NGOs that often provide free courses to schools on different topics related to peace education, such as diversity, gender equality, media awareness, emotional intelligence, conflict and peace, as well as teachers training. So on my own example, I work at the CMI Martti Ahtisaari Peace Foundation, and I myself participated in some programs where we went to school and we presented our work. We gave a lecture about peace and conflict, and I have to say that children are very interested about these topics because they can ask questions. It's unusual, it's different from what they study every day, so it really triggers their interest, and this is something that Finland encourages. And as I mentioned earlier, in Armenian and Azerbaijani cases, there is a lot of knowledge in NGOs that is underutilized and does not reach the formal education. Therefore, promoting cooperation between formal and non-formal institutions could reinforce the peace education programs. And that's what is interesting for our particular case. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina.
I can continue about Bosnia.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so why we decided to choose this case? First of all, because of similar conflict-related context, particularly the high level of ethnonationalist antagonism deeply internalized by both societies. So also at the same time, there were several programs implemented in the field of peace education, and like most of them showed good results, which these positive results contributed to the healing and creation of culture of peace among the students as well as teachers. So what we can take actually from these cases and what can be useful? First of all, how they started. It's interesting that they decided that first of all, before the teaching process, they should remove potential offensive context from the primary and secondary school textbooks on history, geography, mother language, and other subjects. So it's very it's needed in our cases as well, because almost in every subject, in every textbook, we have this hatred for the Armenian side, or I think it's similar in Armenian textbooks as well. And also another good thing that they decided that they should start not from students, but from teachers. So firstly, they should instill these values of peace to teachers, and then these teachers can, promote it among their students. Because if they, instill the values of peace to one teacher, this teacher will go and, teach 100 students, 100 pupils. So I think this is very important to use in our cases as well. And then how it was done for the program itself. The curriculum of the program was built on the combination of principles of unity, worldview, peace. And peace in this program was considered as the main result of unity-based worldview. So at the same time, the program was trying to promote, and instill emotional insight, critical thinking, and, creative experience. So, and it also was supported not only by international organization, but also Ministry of Education and municipal leaders. It's important that our governments will start to do it by themselves instead of waiting for international organizations to come and start to promote the peace education or programs and others. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. I would like to remind the audience, the guests, that we have Q&A section in this webinar, so please use it to submit your questions, and we will have some time, I think, in the end of this discussion to address your questions as well. So please use this possibility to ask the authors of this article directly about peace education in both countries.
If I may, I just wanted to reflect on what Gulkhanim said, and just to stress that when I all my interviewees stressed that there is no hater, which is taught in the schools. There are nationalistic ideas, yes, but not hater. And I did my school also in Armenia, and I didn't encounter hater in my school years either. But yes, nationalistic ideas are there definitely. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Marina. And actually, we started receiving already some questions in this section, Q&A section, and one of them already is in line with what I just wanted to ask you, because Marina, you mentioned that it seems that it's too early now to think about peace education as a kind of cross-border initiatives between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So I wonder, and I guess also the guest in this audience also wonders, so do you think really that it is too early, so there are no prospects in the near future about any cross-border initiatives between Armenia and Azerbaijan? And the same, of course, question is for Gulkhanim.
Yeah, I'm a bit pessimistic about cross-border cooperation right now. I know that some programs exist for students, but because I was focusing more on like pupils, those school year children, I think I know that this doesn't exist now, and the prospects for this are, as I see it, are quite low, because I think in current situation people live in constant fear, and they feel insecure because of the very regular escalations that happen. So in this context, I don't see much prospects for it, but I would imagine that when the situation stabilizes a little bit and we have more prospects for political settlement, let's say if a peace agreement is signed or we see really concrete steps towards this, I see that this would be, this kind of cross-border cooperation would have a big potential to also increase the trust between the societies, and also not only Armenia, Azerbaijan, but also including Georgia, for instance, regional. And I also, I have to note that during my research, all the interviewees said that this kind of programs should be encouraged on regional level, because if they are done only in one country, it doesn't really work. Like it doesn't lead towards the regional peace. So it's really important to think about this. But I'm sure Gulkhanim has some other insights as well.
Okay. There are, I think, some actually cross-border initiatives in peace education which were implemented till the Second Karabakh War, but they didn't include the school kids. It was mainly for students or the young people between 18 and 25, and I think it was implemented by Eurasia Partnership Foundation. I was talking about conflict school, which is implemented in Azerbaijan. Similarly, like Azerbaijan, it's implemented in Armenia as well. And at the end of the program, like local program, usually they used to meet in Georgia and continue this program there. Like it was between Armenians and Azerbaijans. But after the war, I think for now they stopped to do it. They just do it separately in Armenia and Azerbaijan. But maybe in the future, I hope they will, restart it again. For now, I like cross-border peace education initiatives. Of course, it can be done, but I'm quite pessimistic as well when it comes to the school kids, because I cannot imagine how like the family will allow their kids to go, I don't know, to some kind of exchange program. Okay, it could be in Georgia, but I don't know. I cannot imagine for now. Even I believe that it could help to foster regional cooperation and, of course, contribute to restoring trust among the societies and conflict parties. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't have like. I'm also pessimistic about it a bit.
Yes, but actually, Philip Gamigalan in his question suggests what, and he agrees that in-person cooperation that include pupils is currently impossible. But what about online then? Is it possible to organize something online?
Marina, do you have something to say?
No, I think the online setting for school children. I'm a bit, yeah, please.
I don't know, here is the language is also a barrier. If like, the kids, they should at least speak English or maybe Russian, right. I don't know. So it's difficult if there is a translator or something, I don't know. I cannot imagine, but maybe in the future, as I said, it can be done within some regional peace education program.
Mm-hmm. But it comes only to the situation only about schools, right? Like pupils in schools. But what about university? Because peace education is not only about schools. It's not only early age children, but it's also about youth and older generation as well. So.
Yeah, I think then the situation is different for universities, because there are already existing programs that promote exchange between Armenian and Azerbaijani students. And one of them is the Imagine Center for Conflict Transformation is also working in this direction. So for students, it might be different, and I think indeed online setting would be a perfect place to start with, because it could be linked to other subjects as well, like studying together, I don't know, the war, not necessarily Armenian Azerbaijani relations, but other topics as well as part of university curriculum. But when we talk about school, it's a bit more problematic, I think, because imagine if one school takes this initiative and organizes this, I can imagine what will be the reaction in the environment. Like there will be immediately suspicion, like why it is organized, who is behind this. And I guess that the kids and their parents could be easily targeted. Yeah.
Yes. All right. And yeah, coming back about this, what could be the first step? What would your be suggestion for the first step towards these cross-border initiatives? Gulkhanim mentioned about the problem in school textbooks, particularly apparently history textbooks, but even maybe other. There is on both sides hatred towards the other side is promoted. However, Marina is mentioning that of course it depends on teacher as well, so it's not only like textbook itself, but so certain confidence building measures should be done before opening these possibilities for cross-border cooperation. So, but do you have any concrete suggestions for this? What can be the first step to do?
Yeah.
To make
Vadim, as you mentioned, I think the answer is not very complicated here. I think the first thing is eliminating any hater in all the levels of the society, and especially the hate speech coming from high-level officials, because it really affects people. When you talk about peace, they immediately refer to government officials saying, but if he says this and he threatens and he does this and that's how we can talk about peace. So I think eliminating the language of hater is the first thing that should be done on all the levels of the society. That's the first thing. And not nurturing the image of enemy.
Yeah, I also agree with Marina. I think we should start from eliminating, I don't want to use this word, but eliminating propaganda and this hatred content in textbooks, if we are talking about peace education at school. So yeah, first of all, eliminating this content, and then, you know, changing these textbooks, I mean, which like mostly history, and bringing peace education program, as well as, you know, I don't know how it's in Armenia, but in Azerbaijan, I think before the war, you know, they always talk about these bad things which happened during the first war, and, you know, somehow it promotes the hatred. You know, the children, they see this blood and bloody pictures. I think we should start to reduce this kind of events for school kids, and instead we should promote some peaceful content, maybe, I don't know, start to organize some debates, case studies, I don't know, like between kids, how they can, you know, if there is some problem, how they can resolve it between among themselves. We should start from individual level. And if kids can resolve some problem on individual level, they will be able to, in the future, resolve it between the society, I guess. I think so, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you. And actually, we have quite not only the question, but the comments with the certain already experiences. And maybe I would like, if it is possible, for Onik Grigoryan to ask this question personally, because it's quite long and based on his own experiences. Onik, would you like to speak? I can unmute you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very, very much for this. It was an unexpected and very welcome topic. I'm very encouraged. I know it's a bleak situation, but you still seem to have some hope. This is just for Marina. I just wondered if you had come across the Mikita Sebasti Educational Complex in Yerevan, which was an experimental school. It kind of taught critical thinking, it used innovative new methods. It still exists, but it's one of a kind. And I just don't know whether or not it has any role anymore if you're saying that you want to take classes into mainstream schools. So it sounds to me that what was an innovative and experimental school is no longer necessary because you think the educational schools in Armenia are now good enough to tackle these issues responsibly and correctly, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard about this. I haven't heard, but I think that indeed this kind of programs would be very, very useful. I don't know how easy it is to make, as I mentioned earlier, it is not very easy for any program to make its way to the school curriculum. And this requires a lot of work, especially having the ministries buy in and involving them in a very early stage of development of this program, so as they support this, but I think that why not? I think that it would be very useful to have this kind of programs.
Thank you. We have another question, which is interesting and somehow related to what you have already done for your research article analyzing the situation in Finland, which is, of course, it's not really considered to be a conflict zone, but Bosnia and Herzegovina, for example. And we have a question in relation to this. Yes, so in addition to this kind of analysis, are there any programs for exchanging good practices with other conflict-affected societies? Are there any prospects for this? And would they be helpful, actually, for example, to bring experts who have implemented similar projects in Bosnia to the region and share the experiences with them directly?
Gulkhanim, would you like
to? I just would like to read the question again, sorry.
So yes, the question, if there are any programs for exchanging good practices in peace education with
in Bosnia, right?
With Bosnia, but maybe with other conflict-affected societies throughout the globe. So not only focusing on the region, but maybe globally.
Yeah, of course, there are different peace education programs and actually good examples. For instance, while doing this research, I came across of one initiative. It was like, I think it was some Jewish Palestine school. And, you know, the two communities, the pupils from two communities, they were studying together. I don't remember precisely about the methodology, but I can share it later. The link, I read the article about this initiative. And of course, like, you know, Bosnian example, we can invite actually the experts who were implementing these initiatives to our like region, and maybe they can help us with the methodology, with the organization of the program, which will be, you know, which will suit especially our case and not only their. So yeah, maybe Marina, while you research, you had.
To be honest, I didn't come across such programs, but I think those could be useful. But we have to be careful about it, because when we bring some experiences from other contexts, they should be really carefully considered and adapted to our own context. And in this sense, I would say that if this happens, really like the local NGOs should be involved involved, and there should be some kind of cooperation before it goes to the school. Or
yeah, totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, a very good point. All right, but how then, do you have any recommendations for international donors? You have mentioned already what can be done on the side of policymakers, civil society organizations, but international donors, how they can assist peace education in both countries?
Yeah, we indeed, Vadim, we had some recommendations at the end of our article. And for international donors, as I just mentioned, one very important recommendation is to have a conflict-sensitive and conflict-specific approach. So international donors and NGOs should be cautious and not to bring ready-made examples from other countries, but really carefully consider the elements of peace education principles in other countries and their relevance to Armenian Azerbaijani conflict context, together with local partners, so as to make sure that those approaches are context specific and conflict sensitive. And in this regard, it is very important to ensure that the peace education programs are developed by local NGOs because they have better chance at introducing such sensitive topics to their constituencies. Another recommendation for donors would be long-term engagement and support. As I mentioned earlier, those programs that succeeded in Armenia had engagement from the donor for the peace for the peace education programs to be sustainable. The donor should engage in long-term project, which in addition to regular monitoring and evaluation would include continuous feedback, not only from teachers but also from pupils, parents, to continuously improve their work with local beneficiaries over the years. So this is also something important for international donors. Yeah, and also not necessarily for international donors, but I would like to stress one more, that I think this is a very, very important thing to promote cooperation and exchange between the formal education institutions and the NGOs specialized in education. So this linkage between formal and non-formal education programs is very important, because there is a lot of information and knowledge about peace education in the non-formal field, which is not synchronized and does not reach formal education. So building bridges to connect non-formal and formal education is important, so that this knowledge of non-formal education is not lost and it can be institutionalized. Yeah, that's maybe. Yeah, and one more recommendation, also for the NGOs that are developing peace education programs involving teachers and the relevant official institutions is very important, starting from the initial phase of the development of these programs. In this way, there is a greater likelihood that the program is accepted and implemented, and so will make its way into the formal curriculum, or at least influence educational policies. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I will add some recommendations as well. So for international organizations and donors, of course, first of all, there is a need for some support. You know, it can be funding or it can be capacity building. As I said, in Azerbaijan, there is like a lack of expertise in this field. And of course, we need, like, you know, promote peace education as a field, and we need some experts. So it would be great if like international organizations can just support this kind of initiatives for capacity building for the people who would like to be specialized in this field. At the same time, with this kind of support, they can also support the developing of peace educational programs within the South Caucasus region. I mean, like, it's important to exchange experience also with Georgia, because they have this experience of the village where Armenians, Azerbaijanis live together, and I'm sure that we can take some good parts, like take some good things from them. At the same time, along with that, not exactly for the international organizations, but also it's needed to conduct a pre-assessment before the any peace education program. So according to our research and according to our respondents, it would be great to organize some I don't know, like camp for the pupils and conduct the assessment of their needs, or like how this program should be done. Should it be the only theory, or should it start from the games or something? Should it be like a flip classroom, like when kids come and just say, let's I don't know, sing this song or something like that. At the same time, we think that it's important to adopt an inclusive approach in these educational, like peace education programs, because it's important to include peace building professionals, people who have some experience in being in touch with other part, and also maybe some people with IDP background. Maybe we can first educate them in this, like specialize in peace education, and then they can also be the part of these programs, maybe share their experience or their views, perspectives. And yeah, of course, it's important to create the linkage with human rights. So the program can be based and include some parts and context of human rights education. So yeah, this is. But of course, the audience can read everything in detail in our article.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Gulkhanim. And that's actually a very nice, Gulkhanim, that you mentioned about Armenian, Azerbaijani schools that exist, for example, nowadays in Georgia. Those remnants of the old good days when Armenians and Azerbaijanis were sharing their communities and living together. And actually, we have a question in relation to this from Onik. So he asks whether there could be any lessons or examples drawn from these schools. And maybe I quickly can address this question as well, since I have conducted.
You are the specialist of this, Vadim, so that's.
Thank you. Yes, I have conducted ethnographic research in these villages in Sopi, particularly in Georgia. I would say that indeed, this is a very interesting example and case that can inform peace education, especially when it comes to cross-border initiatives in the field between Armenia and Azerbaijan. But definitely this is an experience and model that cannot be just copy-pasted in the current situation. This model of school that has been developing throughout many decades. And this more or less, as I mentioned, is like remaining from the past. And of course, it's very good that it is maintained. But I think what is important in the case of these schools, that the Armenians and Azerbaijani kids, they've been living together, sharing not only, of course, school as such, but they've been sharing their community in which they are living. So these schools, they are part of this village community. So, and they are not just, schools on its own somewhere in remote places where Armenians and Azerbaijanis come to study. And unfortunately, all these ideas of cross-border initiatives, from my perspective, they are very much based on this idea. So very one-time events, bringing Armenians, Azerbaijanis for certain initiatives somewhere in Georgia and neutral territories or online or somewhere, but they do not really have this, do not provide opportunity, a certain context in which you are not only sharing educational space, but you are living together. This is very important, that you are on continuous base, you are doing things together, you are studying together, you are making friendships, and this is the environment which is cannot be really artificially created as such. So, but at least it can inform to some extent peace education initiatives. That if there is a peace education initiative, it's not enough that this peace education initiative is made only for, you know, for the period of the project, of peace building project, you know, for the very short period. Is what Marina mentioned. There's many initiatives in Gulkhanim that they are very short in time. And this, of course, doesn't really contribute to creation of this feeling of living together, sharing together, which is very much based on everyday lives, everyday coexistence of people. So if there are these kind of initiatives, they should be really based on the idea providing a context in which these students would regularly meet, doing things together, studying, living together. I don't know, in maybe camping is not even a good idea, because still it's only for a certain period of time. So we need to think a more long term initiatives and for longer periods as well. But do you think, actually, Marina and Gulkhanim, do you think we can use these schools as an example or as an kind of model for some initiatives? Maybe in the future, for example, when there will be cross-border cooperation possible, when the borders are open and village communities on both sides of the open border are cooperating, and somehow maybe something would be possible there in the border regions. What do you think?
Absolutely, I think those are so valuable examples, because people do not know about it. Any kind of coexistence is currently like when you tell people that this exists, they have hard time to believe, and when they start looking into it, their perspective changes a little bit. So just the fact that there is coexistence is something that could change the mind of people. So I think these are examples that could be indeed very useful, hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, as Marina said, that we can just take something that we shouldn't like just copy their example, and we should apply it to our case right now. And I'm sure there is something good we can take from their cases, and even the fact that they coexist together can show us that it's possible. And yeah, there is a hope.
Thank you. And probably to conclude today's session, we have a very nice, it's not really a question, but recommendation or hope from Parivash Rohani, who speaks about the idea of world peace, and which was apparently initially in all these peace education programs that started in 60s, 50s, 70s, developing also in Finland. That the idea of world peace was in the core of many peace education initiatives. And I would say that also these villages in Sofia and the schools, and there is still this the belief of the friendship of peoples, of nations, and which probably also the part of this peace education, which is not even called peace education as such, but which is organically has been developed in these villages. And apparently, as Parivash suggests, maybe we need to think about promoting these universal somehow ideas as well. Maybe that can help somehow to promote peace education. Yes, I hope we all agree on this. And I thank all of you here, those who were in the audience, and also our authors, researchers. Thank you very much for your contribution, for your analysis, and this article. I once again would like to mention that this article was already published online. It is available online on the Caucasus edition website, and soon it will be printed and will be part of the Caucasus edition Journal of Conflict Transformation issue the next one. So I would recommend all of you to read this article either in printed version or online. Thank you very much.